I stood in the grand living room of the Thompson mansion, the air thick with the scent of freshly polished wood and expensive perfume. The annual family gathering was in full swing, as laughter echoed around me and my heart sank into my stomach. I had always felt like an outsider among the opulent decor and designer outfits, but tonight was different. Tonight, I was about to experience the sharp sting of public humiliation, courtesy of my mother-in-law, Margaret. "Sarah, dear, it's so lovely to see you again," Margaret said with a saccharine smile that didn't quite reach her cold, calculating eyes. Dressed in a designer gown that likely cost more than my entire wardrobe, she towered over me, her demeanor radiating authority. With a subtle shift of her gaze, she motioned me to step closer, and I couldn't help but feel a knot tightening in my chest. I approached her, forcing a smile as guests mingled around us, blissfully unaware of the tension. "Thank you, Margaret, it's good to be here," I managed to reply, my voice barely above a whisper, but she wasn't done. "Just remember, dear," she continued, her voice dripping with condescension, "you should know your place in this family. We would hate for you to feel out of your depth." The laughter from the crowd grew louder, as if on cue, and I could feel my cheeks burning red. I forced myself to breathe, but the shame washed over me like a wave crashing into the shore, pulling me under. In that moment, the swirling conversations faded into a dull roar, and my world shrank to just Margaret and me. I glanced around, hoping for a savior, but everyone else was engrossed in their own lives. My husband, Mark, was lost in conversation with his sister, Rebecca, the golden child. The favorite. The one who could do no wrong in Margaret's eyes. Watching them, I recalled a childhood lesson my mother taught me about never comparing yourself to others. Yet here I was, surrounded by a family that thrived on exacting those very comparisons. "Honestly, Sarah," Margaret continued, her voice rising slightly to ensure others could hear her, "you really should try to keep up with the family standards. We've worked hard for our success." Those words stung, they echoed with arrogance, the undertone unmistakable. I looked into her eyes, expecting to find a hint of empathy, but all I saw was the pride of a woman who believed her wealth granted her the right to belittle others. The laughter continued. Each chuckle felt like a dagger, piercing my self-worth. I wanted to disappear into the walls, to blend in with the lavish decor and escape her judgmental gaze. My modest lifestyle with my everyday job and practical wardrobe was a constant source of ridicule. I was the awkward outsider in a world of luxury, a world that marked me as inferior. As the conversations swirled around me like an unending tempest, I witnessed the dynamic between the family members. Margaret's favoritism towards Rebecca was painfully clear. It was like a well-rehearsed play, Margaret the star actress and Rebecca the perfect leading lady. I, on the other hand, was merely a prop existing to enhance their narrative. In every gathering, every celebration, Rebecca shined brighter, effortlessly captivating everyone's attention while I faded into the background. As I stood there, grappling with the emotions bubbling inside me, shame, anger, and a stem of defiance, I felt an alarming shift. Could this be my life forever? Forever overshadowed by the lavish lifestyle of my husband's family? Were their expectations meant to crush me underfoot while they soared ever higher? Those thoughts clawed at my insides like a wild animal seeking escape, and I realized I was tired of being the subject of their jokes and jabs. If you've ever been underestimated by family, you'll understand every part of what happened next, I thought, resonating with the essence of my own suffering. I longed for the strength to speak out, to challenge this status quo that portrayed me as less than I was, but fear tightened its grip around my heart. I glanced at Rebecca, standing with her perfect hair and designer dress glowing like a movie star. She was everything I wasn't: charming, sophisticated, and most importantly, loved. My heart ached not only for recognition but perhaps more significantly for acceptance. That yearning morphed into irritation as I watched their mother-daughter dynamic play out seamlessly, a well-rehearsed dance I was never invited to join. Margaret called for everyone's attention, her voice echoing through the room like a conductor commanding an orchestra. "Let's raise a glass to our dear Rebecca. She's just been promoted to senior manager at Thompson Enterprises." The room erupted in applause, and I was left standing there, clapping hollowly with the rest of the crowd. I forced a smile, my heart heavy with the weight of being seen as simply Mark's wife, a mere footnote in the family story. As the party continued around me, I felt a mixture of determination and bitterness rising within. This family dynamic didn't just hurt, it felt suffocating, like a noose tightening around my throat. I was filled with a yearning not just to survive but to thrive, to prove my worth beyond the expectations they had set for me. But how was I to do that in a world where my value was measured by a bank account? But that night, despite Margaret's surroundings of wealth and snobbery, a flicker of resolve ignited within me. I recognized the power of my voice, even if it trembled beneath the weight of their scrutiny. As I quietly excused myself from the crowd, I made a promise to myself: this was not the end. The way they viewed me would not define who I was. As I stepped outside into the cool night air, stars began to prick the dark sky, each one a reminder that light could break through the thick veil of darkness surrounding me. I was ready to explore the depths of my own capabilities, to rise above the humiliation and make my mark, quietly preparing for the storm to come. A storm that might just change everything. As the evening progressed, I found myself trapped in a whirlwind of laughter and superficial conversations. I tried to smile politely, nodding along with the chatter, all while Margaret and Rebecca continued their relentless jabs. It was as if they were performing a duet, showcasing their wealth and superiority while I stood there, an unwilling spectator in their play. "Did you see Rebecca's new car?" Margaret exclaimed, her voice dripping with pride as she pointed towards the driveway. "A brand new Mercedes SUV. Isn't it just stunning? You should take notes, Sarah. Invest in something that actually holds value." There it was again, the piercing comparison that always left me feeling naked and exposed. I could feel my heart race as I clenched my fists, forcing myself not to react. But as the laughter erupted around me, I could feel the familiar sting of humiliation seeping deeper into my soul. It was a constant reminder that my modest lifestyle was nothing but a joke in their world. "Maybe someday I'll be able to afford something like that," I managed to say, injecting a hint of sarcasm into my voice. It felt bitter on my tongue, but I knew I needed to stand my ground, even if just a little. "Oh, sweetie," Rebecca chimed in, her tone mockingly sweet. "With your job at that tiny nonprofit, you might want to focus on saving for retirement instead. No offense, but we all know that charity work isn't particularly lucrative." The laughter that followed felt like a knife twisted in my gut. Each giggle echoed like a taunt, amplifying my insecurities. I turned to my husband, Tom, who had been watching the exchange from a distance. His face was a mask of discomfort, a mixture of embarrassment and frustration. It dawned on me that he was just as much a victim of this toxic environment as I was. After all, the Thompson family didn't just belittle me, they belittled him too. The golden child, Rebecca, was the one who carried the family name, while Tom was the shadow. It struck me then that he felt the weight of their expectations, always being compared to his sister's accomplishments. I could see the flicker of resentment in his eyes when Margaret praised Rebecca's career choices, her voice laced with pride as if Tom's achievements didn't matter. Later that night, I found Tom standing alone on the balcony, gazing out at the sprawling estate. The moonlight cast a soft glow over him, illuminating the tension etched on his face. I stepped outside, wrapping my arms around myself to shield against the chill in the air. "Hey," I said softly, trying to gauge his mood. "You okay?" He turned to me, his expression a mix of frustration and sadness. "I just hate how they treat you, Sarah. It's not fair." "I can handle it," I replied, though my voice trembled slightly. "But it's hard to see you endure it too." Tom sighed, running a hand through his hair. "They don't see you for who you are. They only care about status and money. I've always felt like I'm living in Rebecca's shadow, and now it's like you're caught in it too." His words struck a chord in me. I had always thought of Tom as the strong one, the one who faced the family with a calm demeanor. But here he was, admitting that the pressure had been suffocating him just as much. This was more than just about me, it was about us. Together, we were two people fighting against a tide of expectations. "I don't want to feel like this anymore," I confessed, my eyes welling with unshed tears. Every gathering, every comment, it just chips away at my self-worth. I thought I could withstand it, but it's getting harder. Tom stepped closer, taking my hands in his. "We need to take a stand. This isn't just about us being treated poorly, it's about breaking the cycle. They think they can control us, but we can't let them." His determination lit a spark within me. Maybe we could confront this together, challenge this sick dynamic that had been allowed to fester for too long. My heart raced at the thought, an exhilarating mix of fear and hope. I've been thinking a lot, I said slowly, my voice gaining strength. What if we made some changes? What if we decided to stop playing their game? Tom's eyes widened slightly, intrigued by the idea. What do you mean? I mean, what if we show them that we're more than what they think we are? What if I find a way to prove my worth not just to them but to myself? A plan began to form in my mind, an idea that had been brewing quietly beneath the surface. I have skills, Tom. I could start my own project, something that showcases my talents and our independence. As I spoke, I could feel the weight of my insecurities beginning to lift. The thought of taking control ignited a fire inside me. I could break free from their grasp and create my own narrative, one that defined who I was beyond their judgments. Tom nodded, a smile creeping onto his face as he squeezed my hands. I love that idea. We can do this together. But it won't be easy, they'll fight back. I'm ready for that, I replied, newfound determination coursing through my veins. I'm tired of feeling small. It's time to show them that we're not just their punchlines. The tension between us shifted. What once felt like an insurmountable wall was now a shared resolve. For the first time, I felt a sense of clarity and purpose, a flickering light in the darkness that was the Thompson family. As we stood on that balcony, the distant laughter and chatter of the party faded into the background. I realized that this was the beginning of something new, a journey towards reclaiming my worth and defining my place on my terms. Tomorrow, I would start planning and I wouldn't be alone. With Tom by my side, we would confront the toxic dynamics of his family together. But deep down, I knew the battle was only just beginning. I had to prepare for whatever came next, and I was determined to rise above the expectations that had long held me captive. As I stood there, feeling the weight of the evening's dismissive comments like a lead blanket, something inside me snapped. The laughter that echoed around me now felt like an assault, each giggle a reminder of my supposed inferiority. I couldn't take it anymore. I had played the role of the dutiful daughter-in-law long enough, and I was ready to break free from their suffocating expectations. Tom, I said, breaking the silence that had settled between us on the balcony. I need to tell you something. My heart raced, not with fear, but with the thrill of reclaiming my narrative. I've been investing in a startup. His brow furrowed, and I could see a flicker of confusion in his eyes. Investing, you mean like stocks and bonds? I nodded, my pulse quickening as I realized how this revelation could shift our dynamic. More than that, it's a tech startup. I've been putting away a little bit from my salary each month. It's grown substantially over the past couple of years. Tom's expression shifted from confusion to surprise. Why didn't you ever tell me? I thought we were in this together. I didn't want to burden you with my ambitions, I admitted, my voice steadying. But I've been watching their progress, the way they innovate. I realized I could contribute financially even if it's just a small amount. Now it's become something more. I took a deep breath, summoning the courage to reveal the full extent of my journey. I've also been taking online courses in finance and investing strategies. I wanted to educate myself, to have something that was mine, something I could control. The vulnerability in my voice was met with an unexpected warmth as Tom stepped closer. You're incredible, you know that? His gaze softened and I felt a surge of gratitude. I can't believe you kept this from me, this is huge. I know, I said, feeling empowered by his support, and it's not just about the money. I want to stand up for myself. I want to show the Thompsons that I'm not just the underdog they think I am. I'm more than their jokes and comparisons. I'm capable of so much more. Tom nodded, a smile creeping onto his lips. We can confront them together. We should do this as a team. A plan began to form in my mind. I envisioned a future where I wouldn't just be a passive participant in the Thompson family drama. I could leverage my investments to create a foundation for myself, one that didn't rely on their approval or validation. I could challenge their perceptions, exposing them to the truth of my abilities. Let's make a strategy, I suggested, my enthusiasm bubbling over as I thought about how this could change everything. I can prepare a presentation about my investments, the growth I've achieved, and how I plan to expand further. We could invite them over for dinner, make it casual so they don't suspect anything. Dinner, you mean like a family gathering? Tom looked intrigued. Exactly, I want them to see me as an equal. I want to show them what I've built and how I'm not afraid to claim my place, even if it means shaking up their perfect little world. Tom chuckled, shaking his head in disbelief. I can't believe this is the same woman who stood by silently during their jabs. You've changed, Sarah. You're ready to fight back. I am, I affirmed, feeling the strength of my resolve solidify. I'm done being the punchline. I want to be taken seriously, and I think I can finally make that happen. As the moonlight bathed us in a silvery glow, I felt lighter, unburdened by the weight of my insecurities. I was no longer just a victim of their ridicule. I was a woman ready to reclaim her narrative. Empowered by my hidden achievements, I could finally step into the light. But before I could fully savor this moment of triumph, an unsettling thought crept into my mind. What if they dismissed me again? What if they laughed it off as another one of my little projects? The fear of their potential mockery lingered at the edges of my newfound confidence, but I quickly pushed it away. I resolved to prepare thoroughly to present my case with data and conviction. I would not allow another humiliation to define me. My investments were not just financial, they were my freedom. They were the foundation of a new life that I could carve out for myself, one where I wouldn't have to cower in the shadows of their wealth and status. Tom, I said, my voice steady as I looked into his eyes, we have to do this right. We need to research everything, prepare my presentation to ensure they can't dismiss me easily. If I do this, I want to do it well. Count me in, we'll make them believe in you just like I do, he replied, determination shining in his eyes. With our plan set in motion, I felt a rush of adrenaline. The air was charged with anticipation, and for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. I envisioned the evening of our dinner gathering, the faces of the Thompsons as they listened to my proposal, the disbelief, and ultimately the respect I would earn. As the night wore on and the stars twinkled above us, I realized this was the beginning of something monumental. With Tom by my side, we would challenge the status quo and shift the power dynamics of our family forever. I was no longer just the underestimated daughter-in-law, I was a force to be reckoned with, and I was ready to show the world my true potential. As I stood in the elegantly decorated dining room, the air thick with tension, I could feel the anticipation buzzing around me. Tom and I had set the stage for a confrontation, carefully orchestrating this family dinner to reveal my truth. The table was lavishly set, but I had no appetite for the gourmet meal. My heart raced as I glanced at the Thompsons, who were blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. Margaret and Rebecca exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of curiosity and condescension. "What's the occasion, Sarah?" Margaret asked, her voice dripping with feigned sweetness. "Did you finally decide to bring us a fancy dessert from that little bakery you love?" The laughter that followed felt like daggers, but I held my ground. "Actually, I have something much more important to share," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor of nerves coursing through me. "It's about my investments." Tom glanced at me, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. I could tell he was ready to support me, but the moment was mine to seize. "I've been investing in a tech startup," I continued, feeling the weight of their disbelief pressing against me. "And I'm not just another investor, I'm the majority owner." Silence enveloped the room, the kind that felt heavy and suffocating. Tom squeezed my hand and I took a deep breath, willing myself to push forward. "I've been working hard, educating myself in finance and investment strategies, and I've built something significant. This isn't just a hobby, it's my livelihood." Rebecca's laughter faded, replaced by a look of incredulity. "You expect us to believe that?" she scoffed. "What do you know about running a business?" Before I could respond, the door swung open, and in walked James, the CEO of the startup I had invested in. He was impeccably dressed, exuding confidence and authority. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything," he said, his gaze sweeping over the room. "I just wanted to thank Sarah for her generous contributions to our latest project." The room fell into an even deeper silence as all eyes turned toward me. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, but this was the moment I had envisioned. James continued, "Sarah's investments have been instrumental in our growth. Without her support, we wouldn't be where we are today." I watched as the realization dawned on their faces, the smug confidence of the Thompsons beginning to crumble. "What do you mean?" Tom's mother, Margaret, stammered, her voice shaking slightly. "She couldn't possibly have that much influence." James smiled, his demeanor calm and assured. "Actually, she's the driving force behind several key initiatives at our company. It's an honor to have her as a partner." The shockwaves of his revelation rippled through the room. I could see the gears turning in their minds as they processed the implications of my involvement. I had always been the underdog, the one they dismissed and belittled, and now I stood before them as a powerful figure. "Sarah, why didn't you tell us?" Tom asked, his expression a mix of admiration and confusion. "I wanted to prove myself on my own terms," I replied, my voice steady. "I didn't want to be defined by your expectations or your assumptions about who I am." Margaret's face flushed with embarrassment, and I knew that the power dynamics had shifted irrevocably. "This can't be true," she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're just a daughter-in-law." "No," I said firmly, meeting her gaze with unwavering resolve. "I'm more than that. I've built something that's mine, and I'm not afraid to claim my place in this family." The room was thick with tension, but as I looked around, I could see a flicker of respect in Tom's eyes. The Thompsons had underestimated me for far too long, and now the tables had turned. James took a step closer to me, his presence a reassuring force. "Sarah has shown remarkable dedication and intelligence. She's a true asset to our company, and I'm proud to work alongside her." In that moment, I felt a wave of validation wash over me. The years of humiliation, the laughter at my expense, all of it began to fade away. I was no longer the punchline, I was the one holding the cards. "From now on, I expect respect," I declared, my voice resonating with newfound authority. "I won't tolerate being belittled or dismissed. I'm here to stay, and I'm ready to build a future that reflects my worth." The Thompsons exchanged glances, their facade of superiority cracking under the weight of my declaration. I could see the realization settling in that they could no longer control the narrative. As the evening unfolded, I felt the dynamic shift in the room. Conversations began to change, with Tom's parents trying to engage me in discussions about my investments and future plans. I could sense their attempts to recalibrate their perceptions of me, but I was no longer interested in their validation. I had claimed my power, and it felt exhilarating. The boundaries I had set were clear, and I knew that from this point forward, I would demand respect not only from the Thompsons but from myself. As the night drew to a close, I looked around the room, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. I had fought for my place, and I would continue to fight for my worth. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more stories where the underdog finally gets the justice they deserve. In that moment, I realized that the true victory wasn't just in the revelation of my wealth or status. It was in the strength I had found within myself. I was no longer just Sarah, the underestimated daughter-in-law. I was Sarah, a woman with a vision, a purpose, and a future that was entirely my own.